telling whose head I'm going to pop into. Or out of.
Up with our heads! Down with Versailles! Let her eat cake!
Ungrateful bastards. Have you actually tried cake? It's not like I said, let them eat Brussels sprouts.
The 7 laws of the sons of Noah. What non-Jews have as obligations to God and to humanity. It's our obligation to teach the world these 7 laws of the sons of Noah.
We have to refine the world. We have to transform the world. We have to make the world a better place. How do you make the world a better place?
You need to have a system. The oldest and most universal divine system in place is called the Noahide laws.
Ultimately, if we do keep those 7 commandments we were given, we would actually do what God actually wanted us to do in the beginning.
Supposedly, laws God gave to Noah. If you break the laws, most punishments are beheading. George Bush Sr. signed it into law. He snuck it in with an Education Day recognition bill, recognizing the Jewish scholar who supports living under Noahide laws. For those that don't already know, there is an evil sect of Jewish people that practice the Kabbalah, mysticism, witchcraft. You know where the tarot cards come from. Tarot cards are like a portable Kabbalah, if that makes sense. Both are hinged by a tree of life. It's a diagram with 10 points and 22 paths. There's your 22 major cards of the tarot, and also witches used to have 22 paths or courses of study. It's all the same old witchcraft, later called Kabbalah or tarot. Kabbalah originated in the 1600s, although they try and convince people it began way earlier. There's a lot of subtlety implied, though. In their rise to position, there's a bunch of ritualistic junk, and then they choose to be a goat instead of a sheep. The evils are all in there, and it's all based on the Old Testament and 12 tribes, you name it, 10 commandments. That makes it even more evil to me. Talk about the deepest depths of Luciferianism. And on the JewishScholars.org website, it talks about peace and love and how they want to implement the Noahide laws into the education systems and charities through the United Nations. This is some really creepy stuff. And this is who and what George Bush is honoring with the so-called Education Day. U.S. President George W. Bush discusses roadmap to world peace based on 7 universal Ben Noah laws. You can look that up. Among the religious leaders was Rabbi Yaakov Cohen, who represented the Worldwide Institute of Noahide Code, an organization dedicated to promote the Noahide Code of 7 universal Noah laws. Rabbi Cohen presented the roadmap to world peace, explaining that the Noahide laws will unite all of mankind. The Talmud lists the punishment for blaspheming the ineffable name of God as death. The sons of Noah are to be executed by decapitation for most crimes, considered one of the lightest capital punishments, by stoning if he has intercourse with a Jewish betrothed woman, or by strangulation if the Jewish woman has completed the marriage ceremonies but had not yet consummated the marriage. In Jewish law, the only form of blasphemy which is punishable by death is blaspheming the ineffable name Leviticus. The Maimonides state that anyone who does not accept the 7 laws is to be executed, as God compelled the world to follow these laws. However, for other prohibitions, such as the grafting of trees and bestiality, he holds that the sons of Noah are not to be executed. Now keep in mind, these Jews are not worshiping God Almighty, the I Am that I Am. They're worshiping Lucifer. According to the Maimonides, the Jewish scholars, anyone who accepts upon himself and carefully observes the 7 commandments is one of the righteous of the nations of the world, and has a portion in that world to come. How creepy is that? According to Wikipedia, in practice, Jewish law makes it very difficult to apply the death penalty. But America is under a U.S. law now, isn't it? That's crazy. If you look on their .org page, you'll see they're all up in the United Nations talking about world peace and coming together in unity. Blasphemy against God is probably the law that will cause Christians to be beheaded, because these Jews are demonic. They don't believe in Jesus Christ, so to them, we would be worshiping a false god. Now, this is a small group of Jews that practice this. It's like the evil Jewish Pharisees back in the time when they crucified Jesus on the cross. These are those that claim to be Jews, but are not. God literally calls them out in the Bible for what they are. In Revelation 3:9, "Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee." Like I said, in their little rituals to grow in levels, they literally proclaim they are goats and not sheep. In layman's term, they are Satan's, not God's people. Now, for those who will proclaim it's like the Muslims claiming only a small group are responsible for evil, like ISIS, let me clarify something. All Muslims read the Quran and believe in Islam that tells them all to murder us. Not all Jews believe in the Noahide laws. That's the difference right there. So don't go blaming all Jews for this. Recognize the source this is coming from. Those claiming to be Jews that are not. Revelation 3:9. So apparently this Noahide law can be implemented at any time. But something like this, it can only be carried out with a nationwide martial law in place. Now, I did a video a couple years back, Guillotines in the U.S. Update, January 2014. I'll leave the link in the description. It talks about the state of Georgia lawmakers trying to pass a law to use guillotines in prison for organ harvesting. It didn't pass, but apparently the guillotines were brought in during this, and they're all being stored on military bases. 30,000 guillotines is what's reported. So the guillotines are already here. Bush has already passed the law to go back to the Noahide 7 laws, which includes beheadings if you break the laws. The Institute of Noahide held the event One People, One World at the United Nations, demonstrating the universal appeal of the Noahide 7 laws, regardless of divisions of nationality, class, or creed. They claim to be protecting everyone, both Jews and non-Jews, labeling it a humanitarian effort, an attempt to promote its values. Just don't break the laws and you won't be beheaded.
Off with his head! Off with his head! Off with the head! Off with the head! Off with the head! Land is interfering! Off with his head! How dare you! Off with his head!
They don't want Americans, Canadians, and other Western countries to know what is coming. And that is a plan to intentionally collapse Western society. If you don't believe me, read the plan that's been in the books for over a century, planned out by the Illuminati and penned by Albert Pike back in the 1800s in his 3 World War predictions. Gray State was simply too threatening. It revealed too much, not just the obvious points of what could happen with the collapse of a society, things like martial law, food shortages, and a provisional government. It goes beyond this. David knew a secret, and he left it inside of the trailer for Gray State, in plain sight.
All of that is happening in Jerusalem this week. Are you aware that our Congress has passed Noahide laws? Did you know that? I bet most of you didn't know that. The year was 1991, March 20. Let me read Public Law 102-14, passed by both chambers of Congress, signed by the President. Here is that public law passed by Congress in 1991. Whereas these ethical values and principles, Noahide laws, I skipped some of the beginning, mumbo jumbo. Whereas these ethical values and principles have been the bedrock of society from the dawn of civilization. Really? The Talmud, which means the Jewish rabbis, through oral tradition, manufactured the Noahide laws out of thin air. They didn't come from the Bible. They didn't come from God. They came from the Jewish rabbis who wrote the Talmud. But our Congress said that the Noahide laws formed the bedrock of society from the dawn of civilization, when they were known as the 7 Noahide laws. I'm quoting. Whereas the Lubavitch movement, that's the founder, the rabbi who founded this movement, whereas the Lubavitch movement has fostered and promoted these ethical values and principles throughout the world, whereas Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, leader of the Lubavitch movement, is universally respected and revered, and his 89th birthday falls on March 26, 1991, whereas, in tribute to this great spiritual leader, the rabbi, his 90th year, will be seen as one of education and giving, the year in which we turn to education and charity to return the world to the moral and ethical values contained in the 7 Noahide laws. And whereas this will be reflected in an international scroll of honor signed by the President of the United States and other heads of state. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that March 26, 1991, the start of the 90th year of Rabbi Menachem Schneerson, leader of the worldwide Lubavitch movement, is designed as Education Day USA. The President is requested to issue a proclamation calling upon the people of the United States to observe such day with appropriate ceremonies and activities. Close quote. Every president since Jimmy Carter in 1978, including Donald Trump, has signed this public law installing Noahide laws and Shabbatism in the United States. Every single president, Democrat or Republican, since 1978 has signed this document instituting Noahide laws and Shabbatism in America. Here are some things you need to know.